How are we going, everyone? Just finished doing a live Q&A on Facebook. If you missed it, you'll see it just before this little feed that we're putting up online. And I spoke about fruit trees, and a lot of questions came in about maples and other trees that are burning on the tips, especially when they shouldn't be burning this early or discolouring this early. Autumn hasn't kicked in yet, so I was going to show you what's happening. In Victoria, we've had a heat wave, 35 degrees, or 4 days in a row, 30 to 35. And today was, I think it got to 20, probably about 18 degrees here. And it's going to be the same for the next 4 or 5 days for us. And I thought I'd just come out and show you what's happened to our trees. And I've planted an alternating olive with maple all the way through around this dam at the back there. We'll go and have a look at those, but I was walking past these little olive trees. You can see they put on a bit of growth. These were pretty much plant to forget. We put a little bit of compost around the base, and there is a drip system in here, but it's not exactly over every plant. And you can see the soil's very undulating, really unlevel, and holes dug everywhere. That's fine, because we wanted to mound this up, and the intention is to put more soil on and level it off. So that's not a concern. So the olive trees are a really tough plant. If you're looking at a tree to plant somewhere in your garden, whether you want it as a hedge, as a feature, as a topiary, or espalier, all the above, it's probably one of the most versatile trees to use. You can put them along your boundary lines, and they'll grow to 6 metres high if you want to trim them out like a pittosporum and grow them like a hedge. I'm going to grow these here small and wide. They're a bit close when I planted, but I'm not too fast. Doesn't matter. Let's go check out the maples. I haven't mentioned these silver birches to you before, have I? Or I may have in the past, a long time ago. There were 4 clusters or 4 little forest groups of birches. There's one here. Where the olives were just before was a second one, and 3 and 4 over there. So the first one and this one here, the 4th bed, well, all of them were really struggling. None of these were irrigated, and I had to irrigate these. Silver birch has got a very shallow root, and it loves its water. It needs its water, and if you don't give it enough water, it will die on you. And that's what happened to these birches. They weren't getting irrigated. They were already dead when we got here. These were on their way out, and you can see the black pipe that I've put here. This is the feeder pipe to go to the trees over there. But over here, what I've got is the drip system running through just randomly around, and there's not enough drip pipe here. Nowhere near enough drip pipe here for what it needs to do to hydrate the area, but it's a hell of a lot better than what it was in the past with no water. These trees, as you can see, I haven't fed them. I've done nothing besides given them the water they needed. Yes, it's rained, but the drip system was in way before the wet weather came into here, the La Nina, whatever you want to call it. These are doing well, so I want these to grow really tall, a forest of them. I'm not going to do the same with the olives. I'm going to keep them small and whatever I plant further up. But the first and last batch of silver birch, I want them to get nice and big. Water. You can do whatever you like to your garden bed, no matter what fertilizer, whether it's black grit or Eco Butch or seaweed or sea salt or any product. There isn't any water, there isn't any life. It's useless. So hydration is the key. If all else you forget to do, don't forget to water your plants. His legs are bigger than his torso. He's almost uncaught, whatever they call it, uncoordinated. But his muscles are starting to develop, so he's starting to get a bit more control of his limbs, which is great. I love this plant. Now, this is a flamenco. Maple again. It's got the 3 colours in it, the sort of 2 colours with a little bit of pink. It is a little bit of a difficult plant to start off with to grow, and I had 2 of these. I lost one, and that's the one down the other end there that didn't get watered properly. Well, it had a hole in the soil where we backfilled it. It compacted, and an air pocket developed, so the roots dried out on it. So this is now going to go into dormancy. This hasn't been windburned. Funny enough, it's actually over there because we get a lot more crosswinds over the top there, but that's doing really well. Again, the drip system, only 1 row. It may need a second row, and I think the same with the orchard, because this is a high area here. We've got the high side of the bank, so it'll always be on the dry side, so we need to hydrate it. And see how we've left the grass growing tall there? There's a reason for that. We want the ground to stay hydrated as long as possible, as much of it as possible. So wherever you mow your lawns, if you've got garden beds and trees in the garden, the more you mow it, even your lawn in fact, if you cut it too short on a hot day, you're letting the sun rays get into the base, and it gets down deeper and hotter, lower, closer to the soil, which means it dehydrates a lot quicker. A taller grass just like that creates a little bit of protection, so the hydration remains there longer and the trees don't suffer as much. So remember, when you got trees, a little bit of tall grass around the base isn't a bad thing. It's actually good. It keeps them moist. It keeps them cool. This maple here. Now see this? See the tip burning here, the browning on the ends? That's not because it's going into dormancy. The discoloration, yes, but not the browning on the end. That there's caused by the heat, the high winds, hot weather. That's what we call tip burning, and that you can't avoid that. In this sort of weather that we've had, like the last 5 days here in Victoria, that's what's going to happen. This is the result of that. Now the tree's fine. The tips aren't burnt off completely at all, so we're okay there, but we've got some smaller ones that are actually showing more damage than this one is. If you got this, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And this poor little soul here, folks, this is the one that's copped the most out of all of it, but again, it's not dead. The stems are nice, still and green. We've got a little bit of dieback on the tips. I'm not going to cut that back yet. I'm going to leave that there, do this in winter, late winter. And this discoloration that's caused here, and this burning on the leaves, well, that's just wind, hot weather and wind. No matter how much water we gave them, these are very delicate leaves. You can't avoid that. That's going to happen. But what a good sign, there's a good sign here that I'm happy about, is that fact that we've got new leaves that have come up. See these ones here? They're okay. They've actually tolerated. So that means the tree is fighting back. It's alive. You don't want to do anything ridiculous now, especially fertilise. Let it go through its dormant period, and then around July, August, prepare yourself to feed it. And this is the corollas. We were talking about corollas. They're heading for my orchard. I'll fix them up after. I'm just going to have to try and scare them. And like I said, there's nothing you can do with this now. Just wait till the end of August to feed it, or mid-August to feed it. And until then, just keep it hydrated, not too wet. And that's all you need to do with your trees, folks. If they're going to be going dormant, leave them alone. Just keep them hydrated, not too wet, and do not fertilise, because you'll put them back into leaf growth again. You don't want to do that during the cooler months. And in August, we'll talk about fertilising them then. In the meantime, check out our website, VasilisGarden.com. We've got our buy one, get one free with the code word Malacca for 35% off. It runs till midnight tonight. And don't forget our magazines coming out. Autumn edition will be out in circulation. If you're not a VIP, subscribe to it. You'll get a free packet of Malacca seeds. And you'll enjoy lots of great reading. You get access to all the previous magazines as well. Lots of benefits. VasilisGarden.com. From me, Vasili Maresi.